I mean, this is so huge. It's just hard to even analyze something this brazen with this much chutzpah. I mean, my question is, you're on the banking committee. We have this giant heist going on. They're openly announcing the world government, saying we're going to pay carbon taxes to this new central bank. This is outrageous. This is totally unpopular in all the polls. 98% are against it. Is the elite pinning everything on Obama, hoping that with this messianic fervor and hype, that somehow he can bring this through and get it done?
I think so, and maybe they also are in deep planning right now for the crisis that we expect. You know, with the dollar collapse, they want to be in a position worldwide to devise the next system. So I'm sure, they're making their plans for that as well. You know, last week we had a vote on an amendment on the bill that did not get passed, Barney Frank's bill on the TARP funds. And the amendment had to do with demanding that the Federal Reserve turn over the information about where all these credits are going. And I think it passed I think it passed unanimously. So the sentiment is changing. And we are specifically, at my request, going to have hearings in a couple weeks that Barney Frank has agreed to, and that is to get Bernanke in front of the committee and give us more information about what they're doing. I don't think much will come of it. I don't think because we're having these hearings and he's coming that all of a sudden they're going to do it. But the sentiment is growing. The people want the information. The people are tired of it, and they're getting frightened, and the members of Congress evidently know about it. But in the meantime, though, when you hear speeches like we just heard and the plans being laid and the internationalism that goes on, I think there's a lot of plans going on right now on what they're going to replace the dollar system with.
Well, the good news, sir, as you know, everything you've been talking about for 30 years has now come true. It's sad that you were right, but we've now hit the iceberg, and our credibility as the liberty movement, the freedom movement, libertarian movement, true conservative movement is exploding right now. So, I mean, I guess that is the opportunity in all of this. Now, Henry Kissinger 2 weeks ago on MSNBC, I don't know if you saw it, said Obama is worshipped worldwide. We can use his personality as a plus with this global crisis to bring in the new world order.
Yeah, and you know, the first president that ever said that in open discussion was George Bush Sr. when he talked about the new world order. Before, many talked about it, and we had read about it, and if you believed in it, you know, you were some nut. But George Bush talked about it openly, so it is more likely to be mentioned, and I did hear Kissinger's comments, and I think that's what they're really working on, because they are not going to move back to the original order of individual freedom and limited government and a very small federal government. That, of course, is what we want, and yet they want to move in the opposite direction. But, you know, chaos that comes might offer some opportunity as well, because it's going to be very difficult to manage hundreds of millions of people.
I've got on screen for the PrisonPlanet.tv viewers, for radio listeners, I'm going to play a 30-second clip. Here is Henry Kissinger saying, use Obama and his incredible world support and the image of him to ram through the New World Order, using the crises they've engineered to bring us even deeper under their control. Here it is.
So he can't really say that it's one problem, that it's the most important one. But he can give a new impetus to American foreign policy, partly because the reception of him is so extraordinary around the world. I think his task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity. It isn't just a crisis.
Are you confident about the future?
Okay. Congressman, specifically, the Trilateral Commission in 74 said that within 3 decades, they would engineer a world banking collapse, knowing their fiat system had to implode, and that they would then offer a global bank that sets currency rates for the major 10 nations or major 10 regions. Club of Rome said it as well. Again, how do we stop this?
Well, I think the market will eventually stop it, because what they're trying to impose on us is not workable. It's sort of, but we don't know the timing. We knew the Soviet system wouldn't work, because socialism doesn't work. But just look at the pain and the suffering that occurred for many, many decades. But it was predicted by Austrian economics that the Soviet system would collapse, and it did. And what they're proposing can't work either. The big thing is politically, how much pain and suffering are we going to go through? People should be ready to deal in the market, the real marketplace. They may have to use gold and silver coins, but internationally, they're going to play games with it. They're not going to give up easily, but we do know it always fails. They couldn't maintain the Bretton Woods system, and they can't maintain the system that came out of Bretton Woods. That's not been maintained, and it's collapsing at this very moment. And the one they're talking about won't work either. The big question is, how far along can they get?
Congressman,
and will our movement grow fast enough to counteract them?
Congressman, stay there. I'm skipping this network break, not just the PrisonPlanet.tv break. So, John, just suspend this break as we go out. We're skipping the network break, so we can go right to the end of the hour with Ron Paul. This information is too vital. This is a network break, so stations, stay with us. We're going live continually. Okay, Congressman, continuing here with you, sir, live on air. I've been asking a lot of questions. I've been bringing up a lot of points. What are some points you'd like to make, sir, today to the viewers and listeners?
The optimistic side is that we're very pleased with our organization around the country, especially on the college campuses. The more I think about it, the more excited I get about reaching out to a generation that most people believe are all with Obama. I don't happen to believe that. Even the statistics show that they didn't necessarily come out and vote the way that people thought. So that we should have some optimism that we can reach a next generation. But we have a lot of activity going on, but we do live in very, very dangerous times, and hopefully we can work within the system before it breaks down completely, which means people should be involved and try to influence their members and get involved in campaigns and try to get me some help in Washington.
Sir, we know that governments love to stage events or use events to get more power and control. Are you worried about Gulf of Tonkin events continuing? Obama has said he wants to deal with Iran and swiftly in the next year. Are you concerned about staged events?
Yes, you know, a year or so ago, I think because so many times we had expressed concerns about this, they actually backed off when we were worried about a staged event for an excuse to go into Iran. And Bush backed off, I think, because of some of the publicity we gave to that. But no, I think all big events like that in foreign policy have to have a staged event or use an event that they can claim is the main reason for going in. But policies have not changed on foreign policy. If you listen to his speech, he said nothing that would be different. Well, he is still, going to follow the same foreign policy.
Well, that's the good news. Not that he's following the policy, but the good news is I am talking to Obama supporters. We just talked to one on the ground at D.C., and they were admitting, yeah, he is continuing the wars. Yeah, he is continuing the warrantless wiretapping. Yeah, he is saying he's going to keep troops in Iraq basically forever, just a smaller group. Yeah, he is going back on everything he said. So I see them kind of getting apprehensive. So the mainstream corporate media, the establishment, comes in and says, look, he's a good guy, he'll save you, just do whatever he says, knowing he's carrying the ball for the elite agenda to get through what they want. So can you speak to that?
Well, I think this is good that some of the Obama supporters are starting to recognize this, and we shouldn't ignore the fact that some of our allies may well come from the left. The principled liberal or a progressive who doesn't fit the mold of an Obama supporter are very concerned about the same things we are, about the Patriot Act and personal liberty and the foreign policy. And in time, I think that we can work with other groups because we'll need everybody to point out that it's civil liberties that we want protected. We want personal liberty protected. At the same time, we don't need any more wars, which will help us economically. The other arguments can be done, but we do need a strong coalition. But you'd never know that we are very strong from the average newscast every day and what we saw today. But I think our numbers are growing, and there's reason for us to continue this effort.
Absolutely, Congressman. In the 4 minutes we have left with you, I want to get you to specifically speak to this because I know you're a student of history and a avid news hound. And so I specifically wanted to get your take on this because I've studied Hitler, Stalin, Mao, and literally, even the Washington Post a week ago admitted that the symbolism, the things they're doing is classical fascism or communism, where these evil movements of the state want a true grassroots army. And now with USA service.org. It's a separate group under Obama's control, and they're already getting hundreds of thousands. It launched a week ago. They're running National Ad Council federally paid for ads promoting his private army, which I believe is illegal according to the congressional research that's been done. I hope you'll investigate that. So specifically, just on that one issue, there's hundreds. This is classical, the dirtiest, most wicked type of pathogen to a free society, and they're doing it out of the gates. So can you speak to